Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. So it's 2023 and it's that time again, the top 10 games of 2022. Now, just to make things clear, I haven't played all games published in 2022, so if you don't see a game on my list, well, maybe I didn't play it, I haven't played it, crazy, I know, but if you don't know what my thoughts are on a specific game, then just comment below and I'll let you know what I think. So here we go, and I strategically organized my shelf here to show maybe some of them. You don't know the order of any of them yet, but if you see it, then you can say maybe, just maybe, it landed on my list. So here we go. At my number 10 spot is Birdwatcher by Renegade Games, right? Over here. All right. Birdwatcher is, or was a nice game to get to the table because it's quick to do. The rules are quick and easy to get through, so you're able to start enjoying the game almost right out of the box. And the game contains a ton of these cool bird cards, and my daughter just happens to really like birds, and so that theme was great fit for us. So the game is a set collection game, but you need to make your sets of similar cards all in a row, or else you need to start a new set, and each type of bird can score different ways. So really it's a game where you're live, you're playing in the moment. Not a lot of pre-planning in this game. The mechanics in the game are very strategic though, and the art is great, and there's just enough different variety of cards of birds to make things interesting, and because of all of that, I have Birdwatcher by Renegade Games at my number 10 spot. All right, next up is my number 9 games, and what game do you think it is? Well, it's Trekking Through History by Underdog Games, and this is a card drafting set collection game where the order of your cards matter. You're trying to collect your cards in chronological order to gain more points that way, but also gain cards that will match kind of the things on your player board, and everyone has different player boards, and so you're essentially making a choice to affect multiple different things that can score you the most points, and your player board then changes between rounds, so the types of cards that you need or you want change as well, and the mechanics just work so well with the game. The game is not easy, but it feels super rewarding. The theme of the game connects with, those mechanics, and you're going through history, trying to travel from past to present, and also, the components was a really big surprise. It was great to see great components in this game. The game is more of a family game, but this is more like a higher complex family game, which just sits right for us. And I'd even recommend this to newer gamers, or at least to the ones who know that wouldn't get too lost in, how modern board games should, be like. You should definitely check out my video on this one. Anyways, the game is perfect for my homeschool family, and that's why we really loved it. We were super impressed with the game, and that's why it landed at my number 9 spot. Again, it is Trekking Through History by Underdog Games. All right, going to my number 8. I'll let you guess here. Well, what do you think? What do you think? Well, this one's a little different. My number 8 is a more complex game. Do you see any of those? Well, right here, Sky Mines. It's by Pegasus Spiel. So this is a reskin of Mombasa, which, the additions to the game. I like the small improvements they made of an already great game. And the game uses a combination of multiple mechanics in it, the card programming, hand management, area majority, stock, market simulation, and company building. And the game spotlights, more that hand management aspect, and it becomes the hero for me in this game. So you choose cards to play before the round starts, but during the round, the cards aren't locked into any specific action, so you can choose in any order an action that you want to do with them. So you can change your mind, so I like that aspect of it. There's a lot of player interaction with, comparing majorities as well as competing with players on the tracks to have majority. I feel like the game is improved from the design, but, I have fun with it, and that's why it landed at my number 8. Again, that's Sky Mines here by Pegasus Spiel. Now, on to my number 7 game, which happens to be a tie between Museum of Holy Grail Games right here, and also Lands of Galzir by Snowdale Design. Museum is like the ultimate set collection game for me. It's all about the set collection and not much more, and the theme is great as you're collecting relics around the world to place in your museum. In the game, you are using cards to pay for cards, and the card that you want are, of a matching location or of a matching type. Essentially, you're forming collections that are similar where that relic is found, or a collection or a similar relic from different areas around the world. And you have options from the cards on the board, but also from other players' discard pile. So everyone else is doing the same thing. So it's just all about your cards and making the biggest collection to gain the most points. Pure set collection goodness. Then there are different, expansions that you can add in, other bits that change the game a little bit to make it, so it's not pure set collection, and add some of the trading elements into the mix. And, anyways, I really enjoy the game, and it has a great theme. I just like the educational type-ish themes. Next is, here, Lands of Galzier. This is a game that is just different from other games. That is more of like exploring the world and making fun choices without the added stress of losing or choosing wrong. And this is a fun game I have mostly enjoyed with my kids. We just have a character, and we make choices, and we continue on doing and going wherever we want and doing whatever we want. The stories are fun and has helped my kids to learn to play a game without feeling like they won or lost. That's kind of a big deal with my family right now. So if you want to play a game, a storytelling game with character development with cute animal folk, this is definitely the game. And I really like the components as well. They did a very nice job with those. So because of the great balance between immersion and ease of play for a narrative-driven game, Lands of Galzier by Snowdale Design is on my list of best games of 2022, along with Museum by Holy Grail Games. Both of those have videos for them that you should definitely check out. All right, sorry, I'm getting a little close up here. So, on to my number 6 game, which is Terracotta Army by Board and Dice. Here it is right here. This is a game that I played online first, that later I got to the table. And let me tell you, it's much better on the table. The game is a Euro game with a fun way to take actions. It has a wheel where you match up 3 actions together to then perform them. But before you choose, you can turn one of the wheels by paying money to do so and get better actions. And then you are placing miniatures on a board where you can gain money for building it, and then gain special abilities when placing them on the board in addition. So there are end of round points as well that make it placing certain miniatures on the board in a certain way more strategic. There's a lot more to think about at first, and it takes a little to set everything in, kind of, connect everything together to figure out how to be efficient and effective in the game. But this is my favorite board game of Board and Dice's game of the year, but I still haven't played Tile Tum, so there's that. So really, this is a nice game. I'd be happy to play it right now. It doesn't even take long to set up either, as it comes with this storage solution for the miniature, and also it's used when playing the game as well. So just a brilliant idea. Again, Terracotta Army by Board and Dice is my number 6 game. All right, top 5 time. All right, these are the top 5 games for me of 2022. Number 5, which I play probably the most out of all these games, but it's Creature Comforts by Kids Table Board Gaming. But they make casual games, but for serious gamers. It's serious games for casual gamers. Yep, that is exactly what they do. Create comforts in a fun, cute animal critter game. It's a worker placement game. And then they have like dice assignments that you put out. Players gain then those resources and spend them to get cards. The cards will grant points, and some will give bonus points if you have a certain other type of card to go along with it. Anyways, it's fun to place your meeples, to have hope for the numbers to complete those locations where you put your creatures, and the components are top of the line of this game. I love the game. My kids like the game, but yes, it can, take a while to play through. They have a short mode that you can play. I just can't, take myself from cutting off some of a game to make it shorter. I just need to play the complete full game. And so that's why I always play the long game myself. Anyways, there is a lot of good in the game, and we really enjoy it. And for that reason, it makes my number 5 on my list. And now, Kids Love Board Gaming also are coming out with Maple Valley in 2023. The game is different than Creature Comforts. Maybe you've heard of it, but the long game issue with creature comforts is solved in this one, and there's so many fun ways where you again gain resources to spend on stuff, and you gain cards to reveal around the board and move around differently. Anyways, Maple Valley, it's my number one game of the top 10 Kickstarter games that I previewed in 2022. Anyways, you should check out my Maple Valley video. Check out that game. Possibly you could do a late pledge, get right into that game. All right, on to my number 4, which fits in a lot bigger box that can't fit on one of these squares, but it manages to be right up here. Endless Winter Paleo-Americans by Fantasia Games. Now, Endless Winter has blended mechanics that work pretty well together. You have a deck building aspect, a worker placement aspect, you have area majority, set collection, but you are placing out your chief or your workers on areas to take a series of actions from a column, and they all focus on different things on the board, that things you can do, and then you use your cards to play out and do either simpled action or stronger action by using your cards. But you don't refill your hand of cards until the end of the round, which might be like 3 to 4 turns depending on the player count in the game. So you need to use your cards wisely, maybe just a couple here or there, or maybe all in one big action to make a really strong move on the game. But there's different ways, different cards, and you can gain cards too during the game. The components and the art are amazing. They did a very good job including additional expansions in the game that change up the game as well with adding additional mechanics. As you're progressing the game, you can start to plan and chain different cards together and gain more and more actions to do more. Then there is a lot of choices in the game that you're not sure, or you're not forced to follow a predetermined path. There's different ways that you can do well in the game and do good. But Endless Winter Paleo-Americans, that's my number 4 game of 2022. On to number 3, which is this game right here, Carnegie by Quinn Games, sent to me by Pegasus Spiel to review. Carnegie is a game where you only have 4 main actions to choose from for each turn, but each action is performed differently according to each player's added departments. There are 4 major regions on the board as well, which makes it so that the game doesn't get too complicated. This is a medium to heavyweight game that has a lot to do in it. That's what makes it so good. The actions in the game start small and slow, and they grow and they become large and strong. Planning is important throughout the game, but it never feels too much, like too heavy to burden. But you will be expanding your company in the game, and you will try to be the most efficient player, optimizing the board, your moves, your employees by moving them into the right spot to use those actions, and then doing it in the best order. Building on the map also is important, as you will try to connect at least 3 cities together. Anyways, there's a lot of strategy in this game, but you are only making choices between a manageable amount of options. It's a great game, and that's why it's my number 3 game of 2022. Again, Carnegie by Quinn Games or by Pegasus Spiel. All right, we're down to the top 2. Top 2, what is it going to be? All right, my number 2 game of 2022. Well, it's Encyclopedia by Holy Grail Games. This game has a great theme. The gameplay is more of that medium weight and manageable for those who don't like heavier, complex games. The game is a dice worker placement game to take actions, but you are also trying to gather animal cards to then research them and place that information into the encyclopedia. But you gain more points for having cubes all of the same spot, meaning more of the same characteristics between animals. And many of the actions are short and easy, while 2 of them in the game is kind of the meat of the game and require a little bit more planning and forward thinking. The art in the game is fun. Components are great. This is a game that can be played more often because the rules are easy to remember after playing it. It doesn't feel like, an assignment again when getting the game out. You didn't have to relearn a game. You could just put it out and play it. Now, does it take time to figure out better moves and forward thinking? Yes, you'll have to play the game and get better with that. So you will do better as you keep on playing. But we really like this game, and for that, it's number 2. Again, Encyclopedia by Holy Grail Games. All right, you might already know this, but now it's on to my number 1 game of 2022, and that is My Father's Work by Renegade Games. Where is it? Oh, here it is right here. This game has one of the best components that I've ever seen it. Now, lots of games are starting to, have better and better components, it seems like, but this game's components are fun, they're unique, and it's great to gain them, feeling them and taking them. The game uses the game trays, making it a lot better, easier to set up and take down. This is an app-driven narrative game with choices that change the board and what happens in the game. Every time you play, you will be trying to perform experiments, and in between rounds, you will be moving on to the next generation and resetting your board again and kind of starting anew. Only certain things will cross over to the next round, and it's not a lot, so you're trying to progress to best, do the most work you can in the last until you get to that last round, where hopefully you figure out how to do your father's work and do that experiment, because it's worth a lot more points doing so. The game is a worker placement game, and your workers are actual people that are your workers, and they will actually die. Sometimes you'll, have to continue your family's traditions with new generations, and again, working to fulfill your father's work. You have 3 rounds to get the job done, but scenarios change, things happen, and choices are made between players, and sometimes you won't be able to finish your big project on the very last round. Now, there have been some hiccups on the app, but when the app is good, the game is great. And the storyline can also be felt. It might prolong the game and make it feel longer, but for me, it gives the game that strong storytelling aspect, which makes the game feel more memorable and real. But then you play the game, and it's fun to see the changes that the app throws at you. The gameplay changes as the story changes. So really, it has been a very fun and exciting game each and every time, because it's different. The mechanics are great, the story's fun, the changes every time we've played makes the game pretty amazing every time. And you should check out my video review to check more of my thoughts on the game. But My Father's Work is my #1 game of 2022, so thank you, Renegade Games, for such a great game. And now it's time for some honorable mentions. Yes, don't worry, got some honorable mentions, of course, right? I gotta throw in some of those names of games that I really enjoyed but didn't make my top 10 list. So let's go. Zapotec by Board and Dice, right down here. I don't even know if it's on screen, but it's a fast Euro game. It can be very enjoyable, along with Founders of Teotihuacan. I don't even know where that one's at, but that game, again, we really like that tile lane game with more complexity to it. And because of that, it is very enjoyable. I think Unexpected Games is doing unexpected things, and I like their games that because they're so unique and kind of walks outside of the lines of everything else out there. And that's why I thought 3,000 Scoundrels right here kind of uses, something new, has that Western theme, a ton of combinations with their cards. Very fun game. And lastly, Fall of the Mountain King right here by Burnt Island Games. Very fun, competitive game of area majority. The game is very competitive, but not too aggressive against each player, all the players, and that's why we liked it. The game is pretty complex, though. There's a lot going on in that game, and you have to be ready to get into something of that medium to heavyweight complexity to play that one. So 2022 is now over, and on to 2023. Now, don't forget to check out my other videos, top Kickstarter games I previewed in 2022, again, coming out in 2023, and my top 10 most anticipated games in 2023. Wait for those videos. They might be getting up later, but I hope to be working on them and get them up soon. Anyways, have a great new year. Happy 2023.
Again, this is Board Game Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.